Why are there no women in Stoicism? Hi, I'm Britt Hartley. I'm an atheist spiritual director, and I focus on tools for religious deconstruction and existential crisis. One ism that is very popular today, especially thanks to guys like Ryan Holiday, is Stoicism. Stoicism is a school of philosophy that originated in ancient Greece around the 3rd century BCE. It was founded by Zeno and later developed by other philosophers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius. So, Stoicism teaches practical wisdom for living a virtuous, meaningful life, emphasizing emotional resilience, rational thinking, and inner peace. And it's the practical wisdom part that is very appealing and also allows it to translate to modern times. So, because it doesn't require a lot of truth claims or anything supernatural, it makes it appealing for people who maybe aren't sure of their beliefs around God, but are also in need of tools for the good life. Regardless of what is ultimately true of ultimate reality, Stoicism still works at a practical level. So, some of the key tenets of Stoicism are: one, virtue is the highest good. Stoicism holds that the only true good is virtue, which is something like excellence of character and includes qualities like wisdom, courage, justice, and self control. Everything else, your health, your wealth, your fame, is kind of indifferent because it doesn't determine your moral worth. And I do really love this part of Stoicism because it's similar to the notion that one finds Sisyphus happy. In a universe where we don't fully understand, or even when faced with nihilism, where maybe there is no inherent meaning in the universe, there is still a worthy journey to take in seeing what you can make of yourself and improving your character, anyways. Like sculpting just for fun, not for any ultimate purpose, but the sculpture is you. Number two, controlling what you can and accepting what you can't. So, Stoics distinguish between things that are in our control, thoughts, beliefs, actions, and things that are outside of our control, external events, other people, things going on in our bodies. And I think this tenet is even more applicable to today than the time of Marcus Aurelius, because our nervous systems were just not meant to hold a world as big as the one that we live in. And I think this gives us permission to focus on the area of the world that we actually have some influence over. Number three, living in accordance with nature. So, Stoics believe that the universe is governed by reason and that human beings, as rational creatures, should align their will with the natural order of the world. And so, this kind of means like accepting the flow of life, including its challenges, with grace and wisdom. And I see a lot of almost Taoism in this approach, that whatever life is, whatever is the flow of the universe and life and death, we can move with it rather trying to work against a universe that is more big and powerful than us. Number four, emotions and reason, and really valuing reason. So, Stoicism does not advocate for suppressing emotions, which I do see sometimes from Stoic dude bros who use Stoicism to pretend like they don't have feelings.
Do you want to talk about how you're feeling right now?
I don't talk about feelings, Alfred. I don't have any. I've never seen one. I'm a night-stalking, crime-fighting vigilante and a heavy metal rapping machine.
But rather, the core of Stoicism is mastering your emotions through reason. And I think this is a way, though perhaps not the most effective way since we have so much more knowledge about the brain, but it is a way to notice that we have a thought and a feeling and an action and a result. And rather than just being a slave to our emotion or repress our emotions, we can actually watch that thought process and reflect on the legitimacy of that thought, which in turn changes our emotion, which changes our action, which changes our result. And it's very like cognitive behavior therapy before that existed. So, Stoicism really reflects some of the positive aspects of what we now call cognitive behavior therapy, where you're challenging your thoughts rather than identifying with your emotions. And there's this huge amount of freedom in between. I am experiencing sensations of anger and I'm going to decide what to do with that, and I am angry and I'm just reacting. The space between that stimulus and response is the most of what we get as freedom as humans. Number five, amor fati and memento mori. So, amor fati means love of fate, embracing everything that happens as necessary and beneficial, even if it appears difficult or painful. And what this does is gives us a non-woo way to find a silver lining. So religious people have this tool in hard times that this is all part of God's plan, right? And then sometimes I get messages from people who have deconstructed their beliefs and they say they don't have any tools anymore when shit happens. And so, one way to extricate the tool without any mumbo jumbo is just by saying we don't know why sometimes bad things happen, but there's a way we can find to grow or connect deeper to humanity or understand suffering in a way that changes us for the better. There are always gems to find in the mine of suffering. And I do like that part of Stoicism.
Jerry,
Yes?
I've been doing a lot of thinking.
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't think we should see each other anymore.
Oh, that's okay.
What?
No, it's fine. No problem. I'll meet somebody else.
Really?
Sure. See, things always even out for me.
Huh?
It's fine. Anyway, it's been really nice dating you for a while. And, good luck.
Memento Mori reminds Stoics to reflect on mortality and the impermanence of life. This is by far my favorite part of Stoicism. I think so many people today miss out on the superpower that comes when you face your mortality. It's hard at first because it's like dying before you die. And it can, for lack of a better term, suck the life out of you when you go through it. But it is the best superpower that you can have. Once you die, like once you've accepted deep down into your bones the magic of what it is to be alive today and that you will die, it laser focuses you on how you want to spend your time and what actually matters to you. And one part of new age spirituality that I really detest is people who leave religion without deconstructing their fear of death. And then they jump right into near death experiences or past lives or reincarnation without ever facing their fear of death first and getting this superpower of, I don't give an F because I'm going to die, so I'm going to go do this thing even if I fail or even if people talk about me behind my back. And so there's this huge reserve of confidence and intention for creating a life that is so worth experiencing. You want to be in it, even if the ride ends. So there are some solid tools here that have stood the test of time that are still relevant today. So why aren't there more women in Stoicism? Now, first of all, before you come at me in the comments, yes, there are women who identify as Stoics in the past and in today. And today, we have Portia, the daughter of Cato the Younger, a famous Stoic. Portia was known for her Stoic virtue, particularly her courage and commitment to Stoic values. None of her writings survive, but her life is often cited as an example of Stoic endurance. We have Phania, the daughter of another prominent Stoic philosopher, and she played a role in preserving her husband's Stoic writings. But these are sideline characters at best. So even though there are women today who identify with Stoicism as a way of life, let's be honest. If I'm listening to a podcast about Stoicism, it will at least be 100 to 1 that a man is talking about that. So why is that? Number one, it's because historically, Stoic teachings were written by men for men, and in a context where women's experiences were mostly overlooked. So part of the problem is simply that Stoicism is written during a time when women weren't fully people. And so the analogies are athletic combat, or situations in battles and wars, and it just doesn't reflect the lives or voice of women just by matter of who it was written by and for. So the first answer is just that it was not originally written for women or by women in any way. Number two, a limited view of moral virtues. Now, I'm not saying that Stoic virtues are wrong, but it's actually just a small subset of virtues and ones that we usually identify as more masculine. So values that we have identified as more feminine, like empathy, nurturing, compassion, relational wisdom, vulnerability, wisdom in the body, intuition, grace, gentleness, forgiveness, those are not highlighted. So it feels like the virtues that are focused on downplay the virtues of what we have labeled the feminine. And I do think that women feel that, which is why they tend to be drawn today to pagan places and witchy places and Wiccan places where the feminine and the intuitive are more highlighted. And so this isn't just from me. Here's a quote from a presentation at Stoicon in 2020 by Sharon LaBelle. And she says this, quote, The four virtues that are most talked about in classical Stoicism are courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. Each of these virtues can be embraced as an ideal by anyone, but I'd also like to encourage us to enlarge our understanding of what contributes to the best possible life by including the virtues or values that are especially salient in the female experience of nurturing others, caring, and community building. End quote. So I'll link that address in the comments. The title of it is Women Don't Need Stoicism. Stoicism Needs Women. And it was a very popular presentation at StoiCon in 2020 that's still being discussed in Stoic circles. So number 3, I actually don't think you want a Stoic mother. I really don't. Or at least, at the very least, I don't think you want a mother who only has tools from Stoicism and nothing else. Now, are there skills here that are useful in mothering? Absolutely. Emotional regulation makes it far safer for children when children aren't responsible for managing the parent's emotional landscape. But part of what makes a mother's love so powerful is that she feels what her children feel, even if it's irrational, even if she can't do anything about it. I kind of imagine a stoic mom saying, like, well, my kid's in jail. It's outside my control now. So I just wash my hands of this. Whereas the mothers that I know who are deeply connected to their children suffer when their children suffer, even if there's no purpose in it or control in it. That's sometimes what it means to be that connected to someone. When men walk away from very painful situations, women have this unbelievable power to stay connected, even in intense suffering, even when it causes them pain. And so classical Stoicism encourages a kind of emotional detachment and a suppression of strong emotions. And so a Stoic mother might strive to remain calm and unemotional in all circumstances, including when her child is hurt or scared or overwhelmed. And so children need more than that. They need warmth and comfort and empathy. They learn to understand their emotions by seeing them mirrored. So if a mother is too emotionally detached to mirror those emotions, her child may feel neglected or unsupported. So the inability to express empathy as a missing high core value could really harm the emotional bond between a mother and a child. And also, children aren't rational, they're highly irrational. So, if your virtues are rationality and what you can control, children are incredibly irrational, emotional, and out of control. So, it would be very difficult for a classical Stoic to be in that place all day, every day. Some other tools and other values are also needed. Number 4, an overemphasis on rationality. Now, before I say anything, calm down. I am not saying that women are not rational. I myself tend towards philosophy and reason. It took me a long time to consider my body as anything else than just the thing that took my head from room to room. But something that we are learning is that the rational part of our brain is only the tip of the iceberg. We are far more emotional than we are rational. We have this deep ocean of subconscious fears, subconscious desires, wounds, emotions, core values, all operating in the dark of our attention. The reason we are religious or whatever political party we first started to lean to, that was an emotional decision. And then we add reason to that much later on. Even modern neuroscience shows that what we do and what we feel operates below the level of our conscious awareness. And so sometimes Stoicism doesn't leave enough room for the vast emotional and subconscious forces that shape our daily lives. We are this iceberg of human experience that often requires a different kind of wisdom, one that goes beyond what the Stoics have had in mind. And we're realizing just how irrational we are, or how our rational mind is just a very small sliver of what's actually going on in our brain. So, number 5, independence versus interdependence. One of Stoicism's core teachings is that a person should be self sufficient and emotionally autonomous. So, Stoicism encourages individuals to control their own reactions, focus on what is within their power, and avoid relying on others for emotional or material support. But women often operate in a highly interdependent environment. So, if you're a woman who is doing some kind of kin keeping or parenting, or even just a managing managing the emotional environment of a community, then you actually wake up and adjust your needs to the needs of those around you in this balance. So, kin keeping is about fostering connection and support and interdependence within a family or social network to make sure that everybody has what they need. And it's really not about just pure individualism at all. So, kin keepers engage in a ton of emotional labor, ensuring that the family and social group is staying connected, that feelings are soothed, that conflicts are managed. And this requires high levels of empathy, nurturing, emotional awareness, relational sensitivity, and focusing on others' well being rather than just prioritizing your own emotional detachment. So, unlike Stoicism, which values individualism, kin keeping involves cultivating and maintaining these complex webs of relationships that are essential for the well being of the group, and it is inherently interdependent. This is why the best thing that you can do to raise the floor of poverty is to give reproductive rights and a little money directly to women. And because women don't just raise themselves out of poverty, they raise their entire web out of poverty. It's actually the best way to raise a floor of poverty because women tend to be more interdependent. So if you are the default parent, you probably know how laughable it is to wake up and say, I'm going to do some personal development and I'm in charge of these things and I'm in charge of my emotions. These are the goals that I'm going to accomplish. I'm independent and self sufficient. One of the hardest things that I went through as someone who had a career first and then had children is the complete loss of independence, the complete loss of autonomy. And if the only tool I had was stoicism as a mother, and I've completely lost my ability to be independent, then I need other tools. Even though stoicism may be helping in some way, it's not complete because it doesn't give you tools for life as interdependent or where you're depending on others. Like there were times where I was completely dependent on my partner because of things that were going on in my body. So, because it was written for men who get to wake up and decide what to do with their day, sometimes there can be a disconnect when women in an interdependent environment read Stoic works. A 2008 study, for example, showed an inverse relationship between Stoicism and mental health. And the reason that they cited for this was due to interpersonal difficulties due to a desire to want to be independent. The study showed that the most harmful aspect of Stoicism is its tendency to avoid asking for support from other people and even therapy in the face of life's challenges, making it harder to cope with difficult thoughts and feelings and emotions that you need other people for, you need a community for. So here's my conclusion. Stoicism was written by men for men. It focuses on a subset of moral virtues that are more in line with what we've called the masculine. It doesn't speak to the challenges of motherhood or parenting. It overemphasizes rationality versus the wisdom of intuition, and it values independence over interdependence when women are more likely to be interdependent. So it is not that Stoicism is wrong or that there aren't tools here. I do think that some of these tools have truly stood the test of time, and that everybody should read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I haven't met a person yet who has read it and found absolutely nothing of value. But it would be my advice, if you are drawn to Stoicism, to add some yin to your yang. Round out your Stoicism with something else that completes the picture of human experience. Do some Jungian archetype work and dive into your subconscious and different aspects of your psyche. Do yoga and connect with your body. Have time where you focus on being, not just character development, not what you do, but paying attention to just the experience that you're alive at all. Do some dream work and see what's going on at the very edge of your conscious attention. Listen to female mystics who approach spirituality and character development in an entirely different way, where different values are highlighted. Explore work that highlights the strength of other values like empathy and compassion and the strength of vulnerability. Add some feminine to your life intentionally. So, in my opinion, Stoicism is a great approach to life. It just needs a little help to be a well balanced breakfast. For more on how to add feminine aspects of spirituality to your life, check out my course, Depatriarchy Your Spirituality, available on my website, nononsensespirituality.com, or check out the book, No Nonsense Spirituality, for tools on how to have a masculine and feminine approach to the good life.